Welcome to Fearless Finances, where I'm trying to take the fear out of your finances. I've been wanting to do a video about the economic impact of Trump's illegal immigration practices. Today, I was watching a video that got me all fired up. So I thought now is as good a time as any. The video actually includes a border agent willing to get on national TV and talk about their illegal practices. Hmm, this is going to be good, isn't it? Let's get to it.
It was called Operation Trojan Horse. On Wednesday, a man in a Penske truck pulled up to a Home Depot in Westlake, California. Day laborers hang out there. He was offering work. As they gathered near the truck, several Border Patrol agents jumped out. The workers scattered. 16 were arrested. Many city leaders from Mayor Karen Bass on down, as well as advocates for immigrants, were indignant. They thought such sweeps had ended due to a July 11 temporary restraining order from the U.S. District Court. It banned indiscriminate immigration stops and arrests on Fourth Amendment grounds. The order had been upheld earlier this week by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Local authorities were wondering what legal steps to take next, but as far as the feds were concerned, the raid was successful. They were enforcing federal law and would continue to do so. Not that they didn't care about the TRO. On Thursday, the Trump White House petitioned the Supreme Court, asking them to lift the ban on roving patrols. And before I forget to mention this, Penske Truck Rental made clear that they did not authorize their vehicle to be used in such a way. It looks like the Trump administration is involved in yet another legal standoff.
All right, so before we get into the interview, just to clarify a few of those points, there is currently a temporary restraining order. That is what a TRO is. That is telling the Trump administration that they cannot just randomly, based on race or job, go up to people and start to enforce immigration law. This means that just because somebody is speaking Spanish or looks Latino or is attempting to get work at a Home Depot, they can't just assume that they have broken the immigration laws, frighten and harass them for simply the color of their skin and their ethnicity. This is what would be against the Fourth Amendment. Are you with me? Heck.
In yet another legal standoff. Joining us now is Gregory Bovino, Chief Patrol Agent El Centro Sector at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Chief, thank you for being here.
I jump ahead here. Point one, the first time I watched this through and he introduced this chief to the audience, I thought, I don't know. My first thought was, he's going to be reasonable. Why else would he be on the news? Like, he was going to be helpful in this situation. Because why else would he subject himself to being on national news if he was just going to create more problems? I don't know. That's just what I thought. But then when he started talking, I got a whole nother view. Now, I also want to tell you that I wholeheartedly appreciate him still coming on. I do. It's pretty clear to me that he thinks what he's doing is right and legal. And at least from what I viewed already, maybe you'll get a different perspective. So I appreciate him coming forward. But what he's saying, well, let's talk about that after we watch a bit.
This is not the first time that this particular Home Depot has been the focus of an enforcement action. What is it that is going on at Home Depots generally from your perspective?
Sure. Well, good morning, Michael, and thanks for having me. As or any other location here in Los Angeles, what we're looking at is targeted enforcement efforts against known violators of Title VIII. Title VIII are our immigration statutes, our immigration laws. So when individuals violate Title VIII, especially those individuals that may have criminal histories.
What? Okay. There's lots of people who might have broken Title VIII. Okay. But you can't sit at a Home Depot and just assume that the people who are there are there without the proper documentation. That's what the court said. So what he seems to be saying sounds perfectly legal and rational, but they told them not to do this, that this was racial profiling, that this was against the freedoms that we hold dear in our country. And for some reason, this guy doesn't get that. But let's watch some more.
Significant criminal histories, prior deports, or things like that. We're going to go after those folks. And it doesn't matter if it's at a Home Depot or anywhere else. We're going to go after those folks.
Again, we're getting the feeling that he's there doing great things and arresting criminals and people who had been here multiple times and kicked out before. But if that was the case, they'd have. Instead, some dude jumps out of a Penske truck and says, "Hey, I'd like to hire you for work." And when they start to head over to the van, they come capture them. They have no legal right to do that. But let's hear what else he has to say, because good gravy, we are only, I don't know, a minute in. And there's been so much.
I read that TRO last night. It says that you're not allowed to rely on race, ethnicity, accent, location, or type of work. So what was the reasonable suspicion on which you were acting?
Sure. Michael, what we look at here, again, as I said, prior criminal histories. And if we know that someone is an illegal alien, then that's not only reasonable suspicion, that is probable cause. So, which is actually a higher level than reasonable suspicion. So in looking at locations throughout Los Angeles, including that Home Depot, we understand, we knew that there were individuals that were in fact Title VIII violators. In fact, several of them at that Home Depot, and it was proven right during that raid. So that's typically what we look at, is that targeted enforcement.
So what this gentleman's deciding to do is to share with us the typical propaganda that we hear. That if you've broken Title VIII, you are here illegally, and we have any right to do whatever we want to do to you and as we seek you out. This means violating protection rights for citizens of the United States, people who do have proper documentation, and a whole host of other things. I also think it's important to note this. I'm no attorney, so I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this. But please notice what it says about breaking Title VIII. It can be considered a misdemeanor. This means that it is, in most instances, a civil penalty. Please notice what the law says about a speeding ticket. This too can also be considered a misdemeanor. It could be brought up to felony charges, just like a Title VIII violation. But I don't know many Americans who want to be locked up in Alligator Alley for not paying a speeding ticket.
Chief, I want you to get rid of the rapists and the murderers and the assaulters. I'm not so sure what to do about, as I like to put it, the short order cook in New Jersey, in Jersey City maybe. It's like a hypothetical of mine. Peggy Noonan, not exactly a progressive. She was a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. In the Wall Street Journal, she wrote within the last week the following. I'm going to read it aloud to you. She said, "Immigrants, legal and not, keep my town going. I know them. They work themselves hard, and they are all about family. They touch my heart." Sorry to be corny. And if you're reading this, you know they touch your heart too, and you're for them. The border appears to be closed. Hypervigilance is no longer in order. It's past time to show a filial connection and appreciation. Stop picking on them. Cease and desist. Get the bad guys, not the good guys. The American people won't support these raids. It's wicked to remove a man or woman from an honest job, and we aren't a wicked people. She was talking about workplace enforcement. I think the enforcement actions at Home Depots comes under the same umbrella. What do you say to that mindset, that argument?
Sure. Michael, I think that, again, that's wishful thinking at its very worst. When we look at some of the heinous criminals that we've apprehended at Home Depots throughout California.
Sorry, I'm not even going to let that man go on. He's going to try to claim that they're out there trying to get rapists and murderers and everything else. And there wasn't one of those people in the Penske truck. We'll then go on and tell us about one case where they did arrest a child rapist, I think is what he'll say. I'll put the full link in the doobly doo like I always do. So you can watch the whole thing if you choose to. But I am not going to give this man any additional airtime for their lies, their deceit, and you know what? Their hate. That's what it is. It's absolutely hateful. Every time they have to sit back and claim that brown people who are here trying to do a good work, to just raise a family and have a chance at a good life, are horrible people. I don't believe this man thinks that he's racist. And I don't believe he knows that's what it looks like, but it is. And good people like us need to repeat that over and over again. If they were sitting outside Starbucks and asking white people for their documentation, or pulling up a Penske truck in a park and rounding up mothers with strollers, we'd all have a different view on this. The man that he is speaking to had just said, I don't want murderers. I don't want rapists. None of us do. And by the way, Joe Biden and every single president always arrested these people. This was a fabricated lie from the Trump administration and from racists like Stephen Miller. Doesn't he look scary? He just looks creepy. Absolutely creepy. But this was a lie to get people worked up and afraid of brown people. Stir the pot of racism. Get it going again. So let's get to the main point of this. In addition to the cruelty of this has an enormous economic impact. As they're sitting there rounding up people at Home Depot, they're also reducing the fact that our homes will get built, that we'll get new roofs put on, that landscaping work will be completed, and that those people will be paid certain dollars that'll go back into our economy. And I'm not going to give you all the glorious numbers in this, but many immigrants also pay into our tax system tens of billions of dollars into Social Security, into the federal income tax system, and into the state income tax system. And for many of these tax dollars, if they do not have proper documentation, they will not collect anything. So all of that too about getting the millions of people off of Medicaid who have no entitlement is also false. You must either be in the country as a U.S. citizen or with proper documentation to qualify for Medicaid. Now, there's certain exceptions to this, that if somebody's clearly injured or has been tortured, so they've actually come here and applied for immunity, which is what the Trump administration is also rolling back for many of these people. Many of the people who they're arresting were trying to do legal immigration and were arrested right at the courthouse as they were going in to do their meetings. What they are doing is heinous, and it will cost us on multiple levels. Not only the opportunity cost of the dollars that are going to ICE instead of to medical research, education, healthcare, things that build a good and healthy nation, we are harming people. And then we're taking viable people out of the workforce who could actually help build our economy. It costs us on two scores. Take it anymore. I sat there listening to this man, and I just had to jump on here and do a little rant. Good people out there, and I know there's many of you, many more than there are misguided people like this man. Let's stop this. All it takes is 3.5%. And I'm going to link that video for you right here. And I'm also going to link one about who commits crimes, because you're going to find it isn't our brown friends like the gentleman in this video would like you to believe. If you got any value out of this, I'd also encourage you to subscribe. And if you've seen any special or particular ICE activity in your area, please note it below. I like to hear from people out there as far as what's going on out there. But in the meantime, click one of these and I'll see you soon.